Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Scott Kaplan Solo Podcast. Today, we've got a really exciting interview on the way as former Charger quarterback, Hall of Famer Dan Fouts will be with me today. And obviously, for those of you that have been following along with this story, you can probably put two and two together and understand why I've invited Dan Fouts to come on with me to talk about Billy Ray. Now, today, at the day of our recording, today is Thursday. It's August 20th. Billy Ray's celebration for life is going to be this upcoming Saturday at 2 p.m. at the Rock Church in Point Loma. And I'm really, when I say excited about this, that's not the right word per se, but I'm hopeful that all of you guys who have shared your pictures on social media, have commented on my stuff on social media, for those of you who loved Billy Ray, whether you loved him as a Charger player, you loved him on TV, you loved him on radio on Scott and BR for 20 years, wherever you, or for whatever reason you loved Billy Ray, if you want to come out this Saturday, we are completely open to the public. And I'm telling you, I think this is going to be one of those things that if you're an old school San Diego Charger fan, you're going to want to be at this because, yes, we're going to be there to celebrate the life of Billy Ray, but I'll tell you, man, people are coming in from all over the place, including Dan Fouts. And Dan will talk to us here in just a couple of minutes. You know, Dan was recently at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton because Drew Brees was going in. And it's not just because of Drew, but because as a Hall of Famer and somebody who, you know, is part of voting for all of this, and because Drew had his first 5 years of his career with the Chargers, Dan Fouts was the guy who knocked on Drew's door and told him that he was getting his jacket and he was going into the Hall of Fame. So Dan Fouts is going to be here. It just reminds me, though, how I feel, because a lot of people keep sending me messages saying, how you holding up? And the answer is I'm holding up fine. And the reason I'm holding up fine is because I have this sense of gratitude. And I know that maybe that sounds a little cliche because everybody loves to use the word gratitude. I will tell you honestly, I never used the word gratitude. Never. I never used to use it. And in 2000, I want to say it was like, I don't even remember what year it was. We were at a Super Bowl in San Francisco. I can tell you, it was Super Bowl 50. And Super Bowl 50, Carolina is playing Denver in the Super Bowl. And that particular week, I was going through all kinds of crazy personal stuff at the time. My wife and I were in a really terrible place, and I knew what was probably coming. And I happened to visit with a guy while I was in San Francisco, not somebody that I was even really close with, but he was there, I was there, we had a common friend, and he like owned some big club, and there was a big, NFL event happening there. So he and I went out to dinner that night, and we were chatting, and he was saying to me, he wakes up every morning and he talks to himself about what he's grateful for. And he kept using this word gratitude. And I'm telling you right now, this is a long time ago, right? Alex, what Super Bowl are we going into this year? Super Bowl 61-ish, maybe? Maybe I've got my dates wrong. But the point is that you're going back 10, 11, 12 years ago, right? And he introduced me to this word gratitude. I never used it. I never woke up in the morning and told myself all the things I'm grateful for, my health, the health of my children, the life that I've been, given essentially. And that's what has been like, when people say to me, how are you holding up? I'm holding up just fine because I am using this phrase or this word gratitude. And I'm this feeling of I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to Billy Ray because I can't express this enough. Where would I be in my life if it wasn't for Billy Ray? I got to San Diego in 2001. I was 31 years old. Truth be told, I didn't think I'd be here that long. I kind of thought that I'm going from New York down, market size, down to San Diego, and I'm probably not going to be there all that long. And the first guy that I met here in San Diego told me, if you last in San Diego 2 years, you'll never move. That was 2001. So we're talking 25 years ago. And the reason that I've been able to live in this town, be successful on radio in this town, be interwoven 25 years later into community in the city of San Diego, the reason that I get to go out, this is a privilege, right? The reason I get to go out places and people come up to me and they high five me and they say, great friends, is because of Billy Ray. And so, when I say that, and I've told people this, and they go, well, you did a lot for him too. Okay, maybe I did, but I would never have gotten to where I am today in life and in my career if it wasn't for Billy Ray. And well, what are you talking about, man? What I'm talking about is when I got to San Diego in 2001, I was this loudmouth, obnoxious East Coast guy. And Billy Ray was this Southern gentleman who everybody already knew. They loved him as a football player. They adored him as a television personality. And nobody knew what kind of a great radio personality he was going to be quite yet. And it was just that combination. And I'll always go back to John Carney saying to me, Scott, you and Billy Ray together will be amazing because he's coming at it as a linebacker and you're coming at it as a kicker. And you guys are coming at things from completely different worlds, but it will work together. This is John Carney, radio programmer. I called Jim Lampley and said, hey, Jim, what do you think about me and Billy Ray together on the radio? And Jim was living in San Diego, and he said, you don't shut the hell up, and he'll pick and choose his words carefully. Together, you guys could really have something here. And little did we know that we were going to not only hit it off on the air, but we were going to become like brothers off the air, And that means that sometimes there were highs, sometimes there were lows. Sometimes we absolutely loved each other, and sometimes he was pissed at me. And maybe I might have been pissed at him at times. But that was the brotherly relationship. And that's the one thing that I keep hearing from people is what made you guys special as a show was we could all hear and feel that brotherly best friend relationship that you guys shared together. And that authenticity, when you're in it, you don't even think about it. But when people bring it up to you, you're like, yeah, I guess that is what really ultimately made it super special for both of us. And again, people say, how you holding up? I'm holding up fine because I'm just freaking grateful to my brother, Billy Ray, who put his arm around me, told everybody in town he's now with me. Everybody went, well, if you like him, Billy Ray, then we'll give him a shot. And then, you get to 2019 when we go off the air, and then we start going up to Callaway Golf and we start learning about podcasting. And I've told the story where I'm up in Seattle for a football game, and John Lynch, now the general manager of the 49ers, is in the broadcast booth. And John and I was working the game for Westwood One, and John came out of the broadcast booth, and we obviously have been tight for a long time. And I say tight, I mean, we were a lot closer back then because his dad ran the station and John Jr. was always around, and we would fly to Denver to go see him play in ball games with his dad. Like we had a really tight relationship, and our kids kind of grew up together and know each other, et cetera, et cetera. And John Lynch said to me, you are a great friend to Billy Ray. And I said, what are you talking about, man? And he said, Scott, I know Billy Ray, the on-air performer, and I know that Billy Ray is not as sharp as he once was, and I can hear how much more you're doing because he's doing a lot of chuckling and giggling, and he's not as strong as he once was mentally. And okay, that's fine. But I said to John Lynch then, and I've said this a lot since, he did for me at the beginning by bringing me in, accepting me, putting his arm around me, telling the local community he's with me, take him in. Billy Ray did that for me at the beginning. What I was going to do was going to usher him to the finish line with dignity at the end. I'll never forget one time when the 1090 executive said to me, they said, hey, we're going to re-sign you. What about Billy Ray? And I said, what about him? And they said, well, do you think he can still do the job? And of course, my answer was, yeah, of course he's going to be able to do the job. And even though I knew that Billy Ray may not have been the 100% that he once was, even if he was 80 or 70 or 50, it didn't matter. We were a team, and he was a great teammate to me, and I was going to be a great teammate to him. I was going to make sure that he was going to get that new contract as best I, with whatever influence I had, number one. And number two, I knew that I was going to, if I had to do more because he was going to do less, no problem, because he had already done that for me. So this notion of gratitude, I am so grateful to Billy Ray for bringing me into the San Diego community. I don't mean just going on radio and us having a great radio relationship. Everything that he did off the air, I was invited to do off the air. And by doing all of these things off the air, I became part of the community because I tagged along with Billy Ray. And so even to this day, no bullshit, even to this day, my work on 710 in Los Angeles is a byproduct of Billy Ray. How? When I met the first executive at ESPN, this was in Miami in 2020 at Super Bowl. I met this executive. His name was Tim McCarthy. He's not with the company anymore. And Tim, I was introduced to him by my agent, a gentleman by the name of Rick Diamond. And Tim says to me, he goes, well, Scott, Rick says you're awesome on the radio. He goes, if you're so great on the radio, how come I've never heard of you before? And I said, because I'm in San Diego, man, and you're in New York, and you don't care what we say in San Diego. So even though Scott and BR is to San Diego radio what Mike and the Mad Dog were, this is way back when, on WFAN in New York, yeah, we are. I know that sounds like an arrogant thing to say. We were the #1 sports show in San Diego for 20 years, and we had that kind of a run. And yeah, but you didn't hear about us in New York. I understood that. But when I got hired at ESPN, this guy, Tim McCarthy, called the then program director, her name was Amanda Brown, and he said to Amanda, he goes, you ever heard of Scott Kaplan? And she said, oh my God, Scott and BR. I freaking love Scott and BR. And she wound up telling him the story that as she would drive from Orange County to LA to go to her job, the radio show that she listened to was Scott and BR. So even though Billy Ray was going off into retirement in 2020, I got hired by ESPN LA because the program director at ESPN LA was a Scott and BR fan. So make no mistake, I'm where I am in my career all because of Billy Ray. And coming up here in a matter of moments, I'm going to talk to Dan Fouts, who will be in San Diego this upcoming Saturday, August 22nd, 2 o'clock, the Rock Church in Point Loma. And Dan Fouts will be here. And I wanted to talk to him in advance of him coming back into town. Before I get to this interview with Dan, give me a minute, will you? Give me maybe a couple minutes to talk about the great partners that we have that make this thing all work. We start off with 7 Mile Casino. Their website is 7milecasino.com. They have a mobile app now that you can use as well. You can download it in the App Store on Apple or Google Play. Here's the thing. There are a lot of casinos in San Diego, and they're all advertising to you the same way. We've got this new cool pool. We've got oldies bands coming into town. We've got a buffet. You know, we're a Vegas-style casino in San Diego. You don't have to travel. That's not what we're saying at 7 Mile Casino. We're saying the opposite, actually. What we're saying is this. If you want to come play cards, blackjack, poker, baccarat, this is where you come. We're open 24/7. There's no smoking. We're really convenient to get to because we're 7 minutes south of downtown San Diego, and we're right off Bay Boulevard. Parking's not an issue. Sometimes you go to these mega casinos, you park 1.5 miles away. You got to take a shuttle to even get in. You're sweating by the time you get in. Then you walk in, you're hit with this wave of smoke. That's not what we are at 7 Mile Casino. We're the opposite. We're a card room. Yes, Sammy's Restaurant and Bar is inside. That's Sammy's Woodfire Pizza. So you can get a great dinner. You can get a great brunch on the weekends. You can get a stiff cocktail if that's what you want. But what we want you to do at 7 Mile Casino is come in, have fun, enjoy the air conditioning while it's hot out, play cards, win, and then come back for more. No smoking, easy parking, right off the freeway. 7 Mile Casino, their website is 7milecasino.com. Hey, as Dan Fouts is getting ready to join us, we think about the football season that's coming up. And I want to talk to you about Prize Picks. Football is back, and Prize Picks is bringing out their best offer ever, okay? So new users, and I'm going to get the Prize Picks here on the bottom lower third, Alex. New users who sign up will get $150 in lineups if you win your first $5 lineup, okay? So you're going to get $150 in lineups when you win your first $5 lineup. And now Prize Picks is available all over the country. So whether you're in San Diego, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, wherever you're watching and listening, you may be in other parts of the country. We are available nationwide. So lock in for kickoff because everyone and everything is on Prize Picks. Now, did you know that Prize Picks invented the injury reboot? So if a player in your lineup gets injured in the first half and doesn't return, you can still cash. Okay. Prize Picks also has improved search functionality and live box scores to track your picks without having to leave the app, which is great because I watch the football games while the app is open. Plus their social feature where you can find popular picks that users love and copy them in just one click. So, you know, some celebrity types are there as well. The Prize Picks app is better than ever. So pull it up this football season. Download the app today. Use my code GreatFriends and you get $150 in lineups when you win your first $5 lineup. That's $150 in lineups when you win your first $5 lineup. Use my code GreatFriends. Prize Picks, run your game. And one last thing, Cozy Earth. I talk about Cozy Earth all the time, how addicted to Cozy Earth I am. I go to the brick and mortar store in Carmel Valley because I like to touch and feel. So whether it's the Everywhere pants or it's the bamboo sheets, you're going to love Cozy Earth. You're going to get addicted to the brand as I am, and you're going to save up to 20% when you use my code Kaplan. Now, what we're promoting here as we're getting deep into the summer, we're going to get into September now, right? September, October, November, December, you're going to want some really nice new PJs. I just ordered a pair of new pajamas for Rachel. Don't tell her, okay? The thing about these bamboo stretch knit PJs is that when you get hot, the bamboo technology is actually going to cool you down. When you get cold, the bamboo technology is actually going to warm you up. So you've got the short sleeve set right there with the shorts. You've got the short sleeve set right there with the pants. You've also got, for the guys, you got the short sleeve up in the top right. And you see the pants. You're gonna absolutely love them because they are delicious. I mean, that's how they're just so smooth and soft, and they feel so good. You're gonna love them like you love your bed sheets, like you love your Everywhere pants. You are going to love the brand new Cozy Earth pajamas. Go to CozyEarth.com. Use my code Kaplan to save 20% off your home and your sleepwear. So it's sheets, it's pajamas, it's the whole deal. That's code Kaplan to save up to 20% off on home and sleepwear. And if you get to the post-purchase survey, please do me this favor and let them know that you heard about Cozy Earth right here with us. We would appreciate that. All right, let me talk to Dan Fouts about Billy Ray's Celebration of Life that's happening Saturday, August 22nd at 2 p.m. at the Rock Church. And yes, you are all, as the public is, invited to come celebrate Billy Ray's life. Here's Dan Fouts. Well, Dan, this Saturday, we will get together to celebrate Billy Ray's life. And I know Kimberly and myself and Billy Ray's daughter, Savannah, we're all hoping that, all the Charger fans, all of his favorite, the people who loved listening to him on radio, watching him on TV, we're hoping that everybody will come to the Rock Church on Saturday at 2 p.m. to celebrate his life. And it sounds like you're coming into town. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I've got the honor of speaking at the Celebration of Life, and looking forward to it, and also looking forward to the other speakers and their memories of Billy Ray, and it should be a fun time, I think, because it is a celebration, and it's a life really well lived by BR.
I keep thinking that same thing, Dan. Like, I keep thinking to myself, would I rather have like 85 years of a good life, or would I rather have 64 years of an absolutely incredible life? And I keep telling people all the time, Billy Ray was always happy. That was my 25 years with him. What do you, like, that's how I think of him. He was always happy. I said, Billy Ray, how are you today? Luckiest guy in the world. Oh, really? Because I was younger, going through a lot with little kids, wife, etc. I was like, oh, really? Really? Just perfect life, huh, Billy Ray? And he go, hey, I'm married to the most beautiful woman in the world. I've got the smartest daughter in the world. I've never worked a day in my life. Luckiest guy on the planet. So that really is the way he lived, Dan.
There's no question. I mean, he had an enthusiasm for life, and he showed it. And I think that's really the key. I mean, with a mouthful of beautiful teeth, how else could he be? I mean, he made sure that we saw that great smile all the time, and except when he was on the field, when he was just all business.
I'm curious. Can I ask? I don't really want to talk to you necessarily just purely about Billy Ray, the football player. I'm just curious about what you think about like mortality. I'm having kind of my struggle right now is gosh, he was only 64 years old. I'm 56 years old. From your perspective, when you see former teammates and friends die younger, what goes on in your mind?
Well, obviously, I don't know how much of it can be contributed to the contact sport that football is, but I know that it is a contributing factor. It's heartbreaking, obviously, to lose a teammate because teammates are unique. It's better than friendship because it goes a little bit deeper because of the challenges that you have and the successes and the failures that you share. So whenever we lose one of our teammates, it hurts deeply, all of us.
What do you think about? I mean, may I say that you are 75 years old now? Is that right?
Yeah, you don't have to say it, but you did.
Well, every time I would mention to Dick Enberg, our longtime friend and colleague, his age, he would say, "Hey, don't mention that." but it makes me think to myself, like, I'm 56 and I still look at my life and go, "Oh, shoot, man, the 70s and the 80s, man, that's so far away. I got plenty of time." And yet, Dan, I mean, freaking people drop dead all around you, right? In their 50s and their 60s. But when you get to 75 years old and you see younger teammates die, what do you think about
Well,
related
first
to
of
your
all,
own?
for you, don't blink because you'll be there before you know it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of people that are in the same boat I'm in go, wow, how did this happen so fast? Well, it does. You get up each day and you keep stacking days on days, and pretty soon it's years on years, and there you are. But, the key is to live, follow an example of a guy like Billy Ray and Kimberly in the way that they live their lives. And I think that to me is as memorable than any, fourth down stop he may have made or any interception he may have caught. Just the example that the two of them have set in their lives as far as giving back to the community and the involvement and the inability to say no to just about everybody.
Billy Ray could never say no, ever, Dan. Dan, people knew Billy Ray because he would show up at a gala in a tuxedo and he would MC the event. Or Billy Ray would show up at a hospital and shake hands all along, with kids. But what I saw, Dan, was a guy who there was a gentleman, I'll never forget it. His name was Mike Mansour. He was confined to a wheelchair, very big guy, like 6'8", 275, 280, but he was stuck in a wheelchair. I don't remember what the thing was where he had like giant bones and whatever. And I'd say to Billy Ray, "Hey, where are you going tonight? Are you available?" He goes, "No, I'm going to pick up Big Mike and I'm taking him to a concert." He was literally a one-on-one guy too. He could never say no. So he became friends with this guy when he was a Charger player, and the guy looked up to him. And 30 years after his playing career, he was still friends with the guy. And on a random Tuesday night or a Friday night, he'd go pick up a guy who was in a wheelchair using a conversion van to take him one-on-one to a concert. He would never say no to anything. I mean, I'm not exaggerating.
Well, that's a great example, obviously, that is so unique, not just in the sports world, but in our world period, that somebody would care that deeply over the years, over the decades. But that was BR.
Yeah. When you think back on, because you got him from when he's like 22 to like when he's like in his 30s as a teammate, and maybe not quite that long, because you were further ahead in your career than he was, but just memories of what he was as a young man coming into that Charger locker room when Air Coryell offensively, the team is already established on one side of the ball, but what he was supposed to mean to the team on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, it was a long overdue addition to our team was to get a dominant linebacker. Obviously, after BR and during BR's campaign, Chargers did get a great linebacker in Sayal. But when BR came on the scene, he came on with, knowledge, experience, success from his days at Arkansas. Obviously, when you're number one pick, he was kind of overshadowed by a bunch of quarterbacks from that 83 draft, if you might remember. But I remember his dad being a great player for the Baltimore Colts, Billy Ray Sr., defensive lineman who was part of the great dynasty of Unitas and Lenny Moore and that crew back in Baltimore. So I knew that he had a great upbringing, obviously, because of the discipline that his dad had to go through and instill in him. But, the intelligence, the enthusiasm, the tireless work habits, he had it all. And just natural talent, too. And a little bit unselfish because, he moved from middle linebacker to outside linebacker. succeeded in both spots. But that is a big move because that middle linebacker is really the quarterback of the defense. But I'm sure that when BR moved to the outside, he was still the quarterback of the defense.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as like a young kid coming in, you talk about like unselfish and all about the team. I can only tell you my experience with him as a radio teammate. And I could only imagine what he must have been as a football teammate. Cause I mean, I started off today, Dan, before you got here, just talking about my gratitude for him. Cause honestly, like I would never be where I'm at in my career today, working for ESPN in Los Angeles, if it wasn't for the 20 years that he and I spent together on the radio in San Diego. But as a teammate, I've never had anybody that I've ever worked with that was a more professional, prepared, and loving teammate than Billy Ray. Was he like that for you, especially as a young guy?
Well, there's you go back a few years, obviously, with these memories, and I had a lot of things on my mind at the time, just trying to get the ball in the end zone. We didn't pay a whole lot of attention to our defense, and for good reason at times. But with Billy Ray, you knew that the effort was going to be there, and he was a real good leader for that defensive unit. And I think that over the years as he progressed and the team got better defensively, he was a big part of that. But you keep using the word teammate, and you understand it because he was a great teammate for you on the air, and he was a great teammate for all of us Chargers.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm just curious, like, again, you at that time, you're 10 years older than he is. And you've already been an established player. I mean, you're already going to be a Hall of Famer by the time Billy Ray shows up. Is it common for a young linebacker to become friends with the veteran quarterback 10 years older?
Probably not, but we had our ups and downs, obviously, as a team, but we were always together and always teammates. And again, I go back to that word, but it's just different relationship that you have because there's so many things that you rely on each other for week after week, year after year. And so it's natural to form a strong bond.
Yeah. And Dan, one of the things that really motivated me to want to chat with you about this was, this past weekend, and I maybe it was a week ago, Drew Brees went into the Hall of Fame. And you had the honor of knocking on Drew Brees' door and telling him that he was going into the Hall of Fame. Before Drew Brees got drafted to the Chargers, the week of the draft, I don't know if you know this, but the week of the draft, Billy Ray and I had Drew Brees on the radio. And this is 2001. We're very early into our tenure together. And we bring Drew Brees on the radio, and Billy Ray says something like, well, Drew, would you like to be a Charger? And Drew's like, oh, man, I would love to be a San Diego Charger. So when Drew gets drafted by the Chargers, he comes to San Diego. He goes to his press conference. And the first thing he says to everybody is, I was on the radio this week with Billy Ray Smith, and I told him I wanted to be a Charger, and now here I am. And he's like, I don't know who the other guy was that I was talking to, but I was on with Billy Ray Smith, and it seemed like a big deal. And Dan, Billy Ray and I got to very much big brother Drew in his early part of his career, to the point where we were so close with him that the day he was having the surgery to fix his shoulder, he was on the air with us that morning. I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, from the hospital bed. They're getting ready to give him anesthesia. And he tells us a story on the air. I just spoke to A.J. Smith, then the general manager, and he told me to sleep peacefully because I'm still the quarterback of the Chargers. This happened on the air. This is how close we were to Drew back then, to the point where when he left the Chargers and he went down to New Orleans, it was the greatest sporting event I've ever been at, the Saints hosting the Falcons. And the next morning after the game, Billy Ray and I are doing a radio show from New Orleans, and Drew Brees comes walking into the lobby of the hotel to sit with us for an hour. That's how close we were to Drew. Drew loved Billy Ray like a big brother, like a teammate, even though Billy Ray was long retired.
But, I'm looking forward to hearing these stories from Drew on Saturday, because he's going to be one of the speakers. And we're supposed to be limited to 3 to 4 minutes. Well, there's no way that Drew Brees will be limited because of stories like that. I mean, I can't wait to hear what he has to say, because that's just remarkable what you just relayed.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, speaking about all these speakers, Drew Brees recently in the Hall of Fame, yourself, Kimberly has told me, and I can't even believe I'm telling you this, that I'm going to speak after Savannah, after Kimberly. I'm going to speak essentially last before Miles McPherson takes over the service. And honestly, Dan, I don't know how much thought you've already put into it, because I know you got a game to deal with the Chargers and you're on the road. I can see you're in a hotel. But I don't know what the hell I'm going to talk about. I haven't decided yet.
I don't
know.
think you'll have any problem. You have too many things to talk about. That's the problem. Remember, 3 to 4 minutes. That's all you get too.
I know. That's what they've told me. They said you got 3 to 4 minutes. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about what kind of a teammate he was. I'm actually getting emotional just thinking about it. Like, what kind of a teammate he was to me is just, again, I don't know where I'd be without him, Dan. I really don't know where I'd be without him.
That says it all, really.
Yeah, it really does. Well, on a much more brighter note, did you have a great time in Canton? I mean, my goodness, Drew Brees going into the Hall of Fame, amazing.
It's always a great time. I mean, it's been 33 years now that since I was inducted, and going back every year to see the same guys. We had 120 Hall of Famers come back this year, and it was a great celebration, a great class, highlighted by Drew, obviously. But the Hall of Fame is special, obviously. It's humbling to be considered for it and to be enshrined in it. And I'm very thankful for my teammates that helped me get there.
Yeah. And then, Dan, I'll just ask you one last thing. Obviously a lot of your fans are Charger fans, and you're still working these preseason games for the Chargers, and you got a game coming up. What have you seen so far? And, just sort of the Dan Fouts early, scouting report on what you think the Chargers might be this year.
Well, if they can stay healthy, and they lose, big injury yesterday to Tyler Biadasz. So that's always been the bugaboo last couple of years, is keeping guys on that offensive line healthy. But this is a deep team. They have, usually in the preseason you talk about who's on the bubble and where's the competition. Well, the competition's everywhere. And that bubble is huge because there's so many talented players that end up on it and then be out. But that's the way it is in preseason. But you look down the line from the quarterback position all the way to, the kickers, the punters and the kickers there's just great depth and talent right on down the line. And I think that bodes well with the big if they can stay healthy.
Yeah. It always seems to be the problem for the Chargers. I mean, last year, losing both of their tackles. Now it's the preseason. They lose a center. Wide receiver has to limp off the field in these practices against San Francisco. So obviously we're going to see what happens there. Dan, the last thing is I talk about gratitude related to Billy Ray. The truth of the matter is that, yes, I had the privilege of working with you on television and on radio over the years. But again, I just think about the relationship that I was able to have with you is really because of the relationship that I had with Billy Ray. I mean, we may have worked together, who knows, but the fact that when I did work with you, you knew that I was Billy Ray's guy. I don't know. I just felt like that made it instantly comfortable.
They told me to take it easy on you. I hope I did.
Well, I'll tell you, man, some of my greatest memories, one game in particular, I'll never forget. You came into San Diego to do a broadcast of the Chargers and the Chiefs, and it was really not your broadcast team. And they paired you, I want to say it was with Ian Eagle I think maybe it was Kevin Harlan. Either way, it was not your normal broadcast team, but you came into San Diego to be on that broadcast so that at halftime you could introduce LaDainian Tomlinson. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And I remember during the broadcast, LaDainian, I had said to him during the week, Billy Ray and I had him on the radio. I said, LaDainian, do you want to use the interview on the air on CBS to say something about the Chargers possibly staying in San Diego? Do you want to give your endorsement? And he told us on the radio that day, Dan, no, I don't want to talk about that. I said, LT, but why not? We were close enough to have this conversation. I said, but why not, LT? And he said, because I already know they're gone. This is like 2014 or 15, something like that, 15 or 16. I remember you and I walking on the field because you were going to the podium and I was going to get in position. I have so many great memories of working with you after games, sitting in bars after and hearing your stories and realizing, man, Dan has done it all in broadcasting. Are you enjoying life in what I'll call semi-retirement?
Absolutely. It's not bad when you only have to work three games a year. I do miss my association with Iron Eagle and CBS Sports. It was a good run, but this is a good life. We have clean air and fresh water where I come from.
Living up there in Oregon, huh?
You got it.
Yeah. Hey, Dan, thanks for doing this. Thanks for the time. I look forward to seeing you Saturday. I know all the fans are going to want to hear what you have to say about Billy Ray. Thank you very, very much for taking this time and doing this for us.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
All right, Dan Fouts. Thank you so much, Dan. Appreciate you. Well, thanks to Dan Fouts. And, everybody who keeps asking me, remember I talked about this at the beginning, hey, how you holding up, man? And I'm great. Gratitude, I almost lost my shit in the middle of that, honestly. Like I really almost lost it. Hope I can keep it together on Saturday because you got Dan Fouts speaking. You've got Drew Brees speaking, Kimberly, Savannah, and Kimberly tells me, hey, you're last. And then we'll hand things off to Miles McPherson, the pastor down at the Rock Church, my Christian brother, who calls me his Hebrew brother. I really hope I can keep it together. And I'm going to try and keep it to 3 to 4 minutes. And I'm going to just realize that in that moment, people have lives to live and things to do and whatever. But I'll be telling Billy Ray stories for long after this celebration of life, and I'm sure I'll be talking to plenty of people that have their own stories. But I guess when somebody is so much a critically important part of your life, you'll probably be talking about them and keeping them alive like that forever. And the thing is that when I think about what made me kind of emotional is I think about it like this. Dan Fouts, if I went back and I looked, how many years did Billy Ray and Dan play together? I mean, I guess I could look it up real quick, but Dan was 10 years, 11 years older than Billy Ray. So he played 15 seasons and he played until 1987. So Billy Ray got there in 1983. So 83, 84, 85, 86, maybe they played 5 years together. Okay. Then it occurred to me, Dan Fouts played with Billy Ray for 5 years. Billy Ray and I were one-on-one teammates for 20 years. Didn't mean to get the balloons to fly. But think about that. Billy Ray and I were one-on-one teammates for 20 years. Billy Ray and Jr. played together, whatever it was, 3-4 years. Drew Brees is going to speak. He's a Hall of Famer, just recently, inducted. And it's an amazing honor to have somebody of Drew Brees' stature, especially in the contemporary world, to come and speak at Billy Ray's celebration of life because Billy Ray freaking loved Drew. We all did, Can't tell you how many times I was criticized by local media or teased, if you will, by local media about my affection for Drew Brees. And I would always defend it by going, it doesn't matter if it's Drew Brees or Phillip Rivers or Doug Flutie. It doesn't matter. The quarterback is not the problem with this team. And I would always defend myself by saying, it's not just about Drew and our love for Drew. It's about don't blame everything on the quarterback. And now that I just texted Drew also and just said, hey, we're so happy that you're coming and that you're speaking and thank you. And, you know how much we loved you and so on and so forth. So it's going to be emotional. If you are a Charger fan, San Diego Charger fan, if you are a Billy Ray fan, football, radio, whatever it is, this upcoming Saturday, August 22nd, the Rock Church in Point Loma, we would love to see you guys all there. And I know a lot of people have already hit me up saying, hey, I'm out of town. I'm so sorry. It's okay. Life goes on. We all get it. Think about them. Put them in your heart, especially on Saturday afternoon. people are asking me, will this be live streamed? I don't actually know, but generally, sermons on Sunday at the Rock Church are. And my guess is it probably will be. I'll definitely make sure I get more information. I'll put it out on social media. But I suspect now, even though I told you 30 minutes ago, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm feeling okay. Just nearly losing it with Dan Fouts. I hope I can keep it all together come this Saturday. All right, listen, I'll see you guys all Saturday. The Rock Church, 2 p.m. It's going to be star-studded. You already know Dan Fouts and Drew Brees, 2 Hall of Famers will be there. We'll see you guys on Saturday. Thanks for tuning in this week. Thanks to Dan Fouts for being available to me. And I'll see everybody on Saturday for Billy Ray's Celebration of Life. Thanks.